You've probably heard of Solo Stove, a company that does almost $500 million annually and does ads with people like Snoop Dogg and more. Now, today we're going to talk to one of the heads of their Amazon business to see what strategies that any Helium 10 user has access to that help them increase to this level. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think.
Hey, what's up everybody? Kevin King here. You know, one of the number one questions I get is how can you connect to me? How can I, Kevin, get some advice or speak with you or learn more from you? The best way is with Helium 10 Elite. If you go to h10.me/elite, you can get all the information and sign up for Helium 10 Elite. Every month, I lead advanced training where I do 7 ninja hacks. We also have live masterminds, and every single week, one of those weeks I jump on for a couple hours and we talk shop, we talk business, do in-person events. Helium 10 Elite is where you want to be. It's only $99 extra on your Helium 10 membership. It's h10me.elite. Go check it out, and I hope to see you there.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I'm your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And again, I am here on the other side of the world, here in Frankfurt, Germany, and got to link up with somebody I've known virtually for a while, but now got to meet in person, Alvaro from Solo Stove. Alvaro, how's it going?
Good, Brad. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Your accent is not a typical Swiss accent. I know you live in Switzerland. Where were you born and raised? Let's talk about you, the person, first of all.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Lima, Peru, my parents, but I grew up in Washington, D.C., which is why you hear the accent. So just outside of D.C., finished secondary school, started my undergrad in Utah, and took a 2-year break. During that undergrad, moved around Mexico, different parts of the States, for an LDS mission at the time. And then right after I got back and got into my undergrad, moved to Spain. That's where I met my wife, who is Swiss German, and that's what really brought us to Southern Germany. This is why you hear an American accent.
There you go. So how long have you been in Europe now?
That was in 2014. So it's crazy to think it's been a decade. Yeah, but it's been a decade. A decade exactly this month.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's...
Where did you go to university?
Utah State.
Utah State.
North, yeah. So
Aggies.
Right. Correct.
Oh, I got it. Oh, yes, man. I always try and test myself.
Right. It's randomly in a very cold part of Utah. It's the coldest part of Utah, right on the border with Idaho, but it's a pretty big undergrad campus, about 25,000 students. Someone keep me honest.
Okay.
But the international programs there are amazing.
What do you study when you were there?
So I studied international studies, really on a trajectory to work for the State Department. At the time, and I had already met my wife prior to finishing my undergrad, and so when I finished the foreign service exam right after my undergrad, she had gotten a gig in Basel. She works in the biotech pharmacy industry.
Okay.
And Basel's mostly known for the pharma industry, and I took a job at the time in e-com through some friends in my network, and the rest is history, dude. Yeah.
So when did you get into e-com?
2016.
2016. And so what part of e-com was that? Was that Amazon or was that?
Specifically, I was working through an agency at the time that was helping North American brands expand on Amazon generally. And I was the first European hire at the time to bring brands into Europe. And that's really, we were able to successfully scale certain clients. And from there, moved around through other European companies, brought me into Luxembourg, worked back in between Germany and Switzerland for a few years, and been at Solo Stove now for almost 4 years.
Okay.
As great as I think. Yeah.
All right. So that's Alvaro's background. Let's talk about Solo Stove. This is a household name. I've had all kinds of cool companies. Like I just interviewed somebody from Lego here, and now we got cool. Solo Stove. Cool. So for those who don't know about Solo Stove, what's the background of Solo Stove, the company?
Yeah. So, Solo Stove is a business. Of course, we're in the consumer product goods industry, but like our whole goal as a brand and as a business is to help our customers connect with their loved ones and connect with the outdoors. So I'll kind of get back to that later if we go in detail. But the organization itself, 2 brothers founded the brand in 2010. As you see my t-shirt here, I'm like repping well the company. And really what they were both entrepreneurs. They're both Chinese Canadian origin. So both very familiar with the supply chain aspects in China. But of course, growing up in Canada, saw many opportunities in terms of producing things in China and bringing it over with healthy profits in the Western market. So these 2 brothers were just looking for ways to find freedom from their day-to-day jobs. Both were working at the time, some pretty strenuous jobs. So they found a space. Sorry, I'm giving a lot of context here, but I think it's important to understand. As they were iterating different product lines, they created this ingenious, what was this mini, now known as the Light, but it was the original just only solo stove. And it was really a camp stove designed to be able to light a little camp stove within 90 seconds from twigs to a burning fire that you could cook with just a stainless steel concept. And so that same design and engineering is ultimately what ended up being optimized into, I almost spoke German there, große, into bigger camp stoves from the Light. And then back in 2018, we ran a Kickstarter that introduced the bonfire range, and that's really what helped accelerate our growth and our momentum as a brand. But originally started from two brothers wanting to just have freedom in their lives, to create products that create good moments that lead to lasting memories. And now here we are as a publicly traded business.
Public company, having Snoop Dogg.
Right.
In maybe some of you guys saw the ad campaign, like, I'm going smokeless. Yeah.
He did go smokeless.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Now, you publicly traded company. I know, like, I think you guys had published, like, in 2022, you'd done over like 400 million across all platforms. Were you up last year, down last year, 2023?
Yeah. So from a marketplace perspective, we were up, which we felt really grateful. Obviously, last year, 23, was really interesting year, as we're kind of pretty much all brands in our sector are reconciling like post-pandemic trends. So as a business, overall, we were pretty flat, healthy, cash-wise and profit-wise, very strong. Marketplace and international saw tremendous growth, which we can talk about this in detail, but I view our partnership with Helium 10 as a core variable to that consistent performance, really helping us understand where the market at scale really is and how we can continue to take part of that market share that we have and grow it. So from a marketplace perspective, Amazon specifically USA was up, and Amazon Global was up significantly year over year.
What percentage, once you get to a certain level, and this is similar to what I talked about Silas, who formerly from Lego, is like, what percentage is from brand search, and then what percentage would you say is just coming from people typing in, smokeless barbecue pit or something,
right,
random keywords?
It's a great question, and actually, it ties directly into what we can do within Helium 10 and tech stack you guys simplify. But from what we've seen, both within the search query performance on Brand Analytics and Seller Central, and from I believe it's Frankenstein or Cerebro, remind me, where we can find a search volume.
Cerebro, yep.
We see that the solo stove branded searches is almost 3 times bigger than smokeless fire pit.
Wow.
Which is unique. Crazy. Because there's not a lot of brands that can pretty much be synonymous to an entire market. I mean, Lego, of course. Yeah. Lego is that's
one of the only examples where it's like I don't know what you would say, toy bricks.
Right. Kleenex, I guess, would be another one.
Good one.
So we've been really grateful that we can drive that. Obviously, in the US, Germany, Canada, UK, Amazon is definitely, if not the biggest, one of the biggest search engine platforms for consumers looking for a product or looking into a product. So naturally, the way we have our omni-channel, sales channels, I should say, set up, we leverage Amazon as both, of course, a place where we can drive tremendous growth and profit, but also a place where we need to defend the brand. So I think from a percentage perspective, well over half of our sales come from branded search, which is really a strong attribution to our entire brand and marketing team, and of course, product development team. We can go into detail in this podcast however you wish, but for us, a marketplace that's really critical is how are we defending the brand? How are we displaying the brand? How is our content? What's that consumer experience like? And how are we defending the traffic that's looking for us, so we're not losing them in that funnel? Okay. It's a critical component of our strategy.
Interesting. I definitely want to get into some specific strategies, but one just general question I'm curious about is, from what I understand, Solo Stove in the States has been kind of like a household name for a while.
Right.
You're a little bit newer here in Europe.
Right.
What was your expansion strategy? Like, did Amazon play a big role in trying to get your brand out here, or was it a lot of just traditional marketing?
Yeah, so we officially, I was actually the first European hire, fun fact, for Solo Stove back in the very end of 2020, going into 2021. Originally brought on as a director of marketplaces globally, first for Solo. This is pre-acquisition of other brands, pre-IPO. So then took that role as we acquire new brands, right? Or shout out to Oru Kayak, Isle, Chubby Shorts. So it was really, really interesting experience. And then that fall, 2021, is when we launched direct to consumer. Now, we had a little bit of a head start. We had some great distribution partners, some that we still work with very closely with today, that we had some organic search. And so really from the circumstance and the card that we were played, that really helped us define specifically in Europe, the way we were going to market is like where to put our focus in terms of marketing spend and our focus in terms of channels, like where we're actually going to sell. So we immediately noticed that in Europe, specifically Northern Europe, to be most specific, right, between the UK, the Nordics, Benelux, the DACH region, right, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, we knew that would be our focus. So that definitely helped us define where our headquarter would be, which is today in Rotterdam. That was extremely critical. Make sure we staff that effectively. For us, consumer obsession is our fundamental, right? We want to make sure customers have a great experience, and that logistically, which we own our distribution out of Rotterdam, we own all of our logistics. That's an extremely critical component. So in terms of like the actual launch, right, the setup is critical, understanding which market we're going to play in. I mean, these were things that were important to set up. But once actually going live to market, we're a digitally native brand. So when we went live to market, it was an omni-channel mix digitally, meaning that we hyper-focused on our website and across Amazon Pan Europe. And, we did more our first full year being live direct to consumer than it took Solo Stove 10 years to do domestically. Wow. So it was, I would say, obviously, and this is with the same profit constraints that we have in the US. Obviously, as a publicly traded business, we have a responsibility to shareholders, not only to drive top line, but also to drive bottom line. So we're really, really proud of that story. And we've just seen year over year growth, sustaining those same top and bottom line figures that I'm alluding to.
Awesome. All right, let's get back into some specific strategies you alluded to, like kind of like brand defense and putting a moat around your brand. And yes, of course, when you're that size of a company like you guys are, it's important. But even smaller sellers, once they're building up their brand, there's going to be brand search, and it might not be at the scale of a Solo Stove or Lego, but they would have to follow the same principles as kind of like you have. So what has been your strategy? I know Helium 10, maybe Atomic and some other tools, talk about that a little bit, but what's your strategy at protecting your brand?
One of the most profound conversations I remember the last 3 years working with Solo Stove and Solo Brands is a conversation I had with our chief digital officer at the time, who's also one of the founders at Chubby's, Tom Montgomery, who, what an incredible experience working under his wing for over a year. We were talking one day about like specific tactics for operating on Amazon. And one of those things actually was brand registry. And I was going into detail, and he, for lack of better terms or articulating this, he just kind of stopped me and said, "Hey, Alvaro, this is a fundamental. We don't need to go into detail here." So when it comes to like your defense on Amazon, like make sure that the resources Amazon provides you to defend your brand, be it like the most fundamental basics being like, hey, get brand registered, make sure it's basically like an Amazon trademark, right? Or is it, maybe it's a transparency program, right? If you're dealing with counterfeits or unauthorized resellers, maybe it's Project Zero, which is a more robust element of transparency, I'd say. Make those fundamentals in your business. I would say that's an extremely critical component. Like make the resources that Amazon has to give to you, now what Walmart's providing, right, through their seller platform. Make those brand resources to defend your brand a fundamental and exhaust them, right? If you're a bigger business and you need to make that cross-department focus initiative, like with your legal team or your finance team or your CTO, do so, but just make it a fundamental. Like don't postpone any resource you have through brand registry.
Okay.
Hope that kind of answers the question.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's definitely important. And again, you don't need to be a humongous seller. I would say brand new seller. Why not start with brand registry? If you're just an arbitrage seller or something, of course, you don't even have to worry about that. But everybody should be protecting their brand. What about on the kind of like listing optimization, keyword strategy, advertising strategy, as far as protecting your brand in that sense now?
Yeah, I mean, indexing is critical. As I alluded to earlier, we have a lot more search for Solo Stove than someone who's probably looking for a product that we sell, right? Similar to our core product, I'd say. But as far as like what we do to defend a brand through the listing, going again back to the principle of fundamentals, we have hundreds and thousands of assets. So this to any brand that's serious about selling on marketplace, where look, cost of acquisition is more expensive. There's more sellers. There's more listings. You need to make sure that your content is rich, right? So for us, where anyone can buy like a random fire pit from Walmart or from Target for $50, $100. Why are they going to spend 3, 4, 5 times more on a solo stove fire pit? And it's because we want to evoke that emotion of creating good moments. And so for us, part of a defense strategy is, hey, is the content, the copy, your A+ for Amazon specifically, is it evoking that emotion that you want to be associated to your brand? Mm-hmm. Right? For us, it's, of course, we're selling fire pits, but the end to all these means is, can we evoke the emotion on that session that a customer or potential customer is having with our brand, showing that they can create good moments with the brand? I think is a really critical component of our brand and that defense strategy from a listing perspective.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that is something that smaller sellers sometimes think they don't have to worry about. But people look at that stuff.
Right.
And in a cookie cutter world where maybe there's 15 people doing the same thing, similar prices, that's the kind of stuff that sets you apart and makes you memorable. What kind of advertising do you guys focus on? Do you just do pretty much everything that Amazon provides, whether it's sponsored brand, display, DSP, etc.?
That's a great question. We actually just had some pretty high level folks at Amazon in our offices last week in Grapevine. I was really grateful for that experience because we actually had some key members from the Amazon ads team come into the office and really give us insights into some of the new products that Amazon ads is developing. And so for us, definitely it's part of a strategy broadly is to maximize the way we utilize resources that Amazon has to offer. But as far as like going back to like the ad console and what we're executing highly in, it's across the board, right? We obviously see best efficiency across sponsored product, right? And then the way we define that strategy, top to bottom, the funnel is critical, right? Defensive to offensive. And we carry similar strategies across sponsored brand, sponsored display. And now we're getting to a point as a business where, you'll hear high level team members from Solo Stove speak about this over this coming year, but we're really trying to blur our performance digitally, right? Amazon is developing some products that is going to affect more positively performance outside of Amazon. And we want to take part of that, right, through AMC or DSP. So that's going to be a really critical component, is leveraging the experience we have from the ad console, right, through the 3 core campaign types that we could have run into new products that they're developing, and really blur both performance and our operations behind it with amazing talent that we have in-house that have historically been focused on like paid social and Google, and trying to blur that operation, if that kind of makes sense.
For the on Amazon advertising, how does your team leverage Helium 10 Atomic?
The biggest benefit that we've seen with Atomic specifically is helping streamline extremely time-consuming things. We're highly tactical, highly experienced, and very, very detailed in terms of the campaigns and the way we're optimizing. You probably look in our account, we have thousands of campaigns just in the US alone, and then you can do the multiples of that because we put similar efforts across all of our channels on Amazon, and we're in 15 Amazon stores, a little bit under, once you start to consider international. So what Atomic has done really, I can speak transparently with you here in person, is helping us streamline extremely time-consuming tasks, like bulk changes, bulk edits, in a way that's not just to get it done, to save time, but in a way that's insightful and data-driven.
Yeah,
to keep it simple.
Taking a step back, you just mentioned all the different marketplaces you sell in. If you were to say, just gross revenue top 5, safe to say US number 1.
Correct.
Would it be Germany number 2, UK?
It's really interesting. On Amazon, it's similar performance that we see between UK and Germany.
Okay.
It's funny because off Amazon, our British business is more material.
Huh.
So it speaks a little bit to the power of, I think, of Amazon Germany, or maybe even the preference of consumer behavior. Maybe Germans just, again, we need to take a deeper dive in this, but maybe our German customers just prefer to shop on Amazon Germany for whatever their reason is. I'll come back to your answer, but an important fundamental as a brand is we want to meet our customer where they want to be met.
Sure.
That's why omnichannel is so critical. But as far as Amazon, definitely the top 4 is Germany, UK, after the US, Canada is up there. And then in the rest of Europe, between France, Italy, Spain, and Holland, I think you have a pretty much flat performance competing for that 5th spot. We most definitely can scale our performance in Japan and Australia just from the data we can see in terms of search volume for our brand. But obviously, Japan and Australia aren't necessarily right next to Europe, so it requires a bit more effort logistically.
Okay.
But that rounds up the top 5. Hope that helps.
Yeah. What about any non-Amazon marketplaces that you guys are doing well in, like, be it Walmart or TikTok Shop or?
Yeah, it's a great question. Domestically, 100%. Walmart's been a really great partner of ours. Obviously, they, as a business, have been hyper-focused on developing this marketplace that can, over time, become a pure competitor to Amazon. At the moment, from my understanding at a macro level, it's still years away from really competing with Amazon. But they've been great partners in terms of giving us the human element and time and attention and placements that I think a brand like ours deserves, considering how much branded search goes into their marketplace. So that partnership with Walmart has been really important for us. Again, going back to the notion of meeting customers where they want to be met, we've found that there's a lot of customers that want to be met there. And so we're excited and eager to double down in the performance on Walmart Marketplace. And yeah, man, look, I'm based in Basel. One of my favorite things about living in Basel, it's on the border of Germany, France, and Switzerland. And so I have firsthand daily, I can see how fragmented consumer behavior is across those 3 countries. And so in Europe, way more nuance in terms of our marketplace approach. It's obviously the Amazon Pan-EU is critical, but I mean, we've got other really important sales channels to us, such as Bol, right, out of Netherlands and Belgium, Allegro, which we heard a little bit about today in Poland, Manor in Switzerland, Galaxus is something on our radar. So a few other marketplaces, just because it's so much more fragmented, that are critical for us.
Do anything in Korea? Yeah.
At the moment, no, but we do have a great partner in Korea, and we do have some pretty strong performance, not necessarily through marketplace, but
there's got to be something with some Korean barbecue, a product you have. I mean, Korean barbecue is so popular worldwide. There's got to be something you can do there.
Yeah, I know that for sure. I mean, if you guys ever want to see like amazing engineering around a solo stove, and I don't know if some of your audience, if they're looking at solo stove, the aesthetics of the product is so simple. It's a beautiful product. But some of the things we see engineered around the solo stove out of Japan and Korea and China, not by our team, is incredible. So I owe them a lot of props in terms of like giving us definitely some inspiration. But it's
if you make an in-house Korean barbecue table or device, I would be your first customer. Because like what I do in my house, none of us are Korean, but like I've been eating Korean food my whole life, and I just only watch Korean TV and everything. But I just got like this burner with a little tank of whatever it is, and it's not efficient. Smoke everywhere. I got to open up all the windows, and I got to replace. It's like there's got to be a better way, and I think you guys would be the ones to do it. So let me beta test.
Don't challenge us, man. We're at one of a key pillar of ours is getting indoors. With some of our
awesome
core lines.
We mentioned earlier how you did something with Snoop Dogg. That's something that not brand new sellers or even $1 million sellers should be considering somebody of that stature. But at what point should an Amazon seller start reaching out to maybe micro influencers or just people to promote their product?
Yeah, look, it's a much different answer today than it was even 2 years ago. Like if you're coming on Amazon or you're like a newer brand on Amazon and you don't have a strategy to develop your brand off Amazon, you're going to lose. You're going to lose, and it's going to, maybe right now you're on a wave and a trend that feels good, but I promise you the more you can flatten your reach as a brand holistically, the better you're going to be. And in this case, like the best example is we've been able to grow successfully on Amazon with further investments off Amazon by driving more organic search, because Amazon is a beast, right? It's a massive search platform. So the more you can drive awareness off Amazon, you're still going to be technically driving awareness into Amazon. So I would say today, when you consider the basics of increased competition, increased cost, then you have some macroeconomic factors to implement in terms of how consumers feel about spending their own hard-earned funds into brands that maybe they've never heard of. It's a lot more nuanced today and a lot more difficult. So you want to make sure you're definitely focused on developing a brand where consumers can not only connect, but have awareness about what your brand is so they can make a more, feed the funnel earlier and get to that bottom much earlier than anticipated. Because Amazon, of course, is the bottom of the funnel when it comes to the sales channel. Like, people are ready to shop if they're on Amazon. So yeah, I would just strongly recommend, like, make sure you're invest as much time when it comes to branding off Amazon as you do on Amazon. All right,
before we get into your final strategy of the day, just a couple somewhat off-related topics. But first of all, if you guys want to find out more or find, about their products, just type in Solo Stove literally to any search engine or on Amazon or Walmart or anywhere. If people just want to find you on the interwebs out there, is LinkedIn a good place to follow what you do?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. Pretty private on social media unless you're part of our online community. It's my German wife has taught me well in terms of privacy. But LinkedIn is a great platform. If you just look up, there's only one Alvaro. Alvaro is a very Spanish name, very difficult to Germanize or Anglicize. So if you just look up Alvaro Lopez, you'll find me for Solo Stove. I think it's the best way.
Okay, cool. Random question. Why in Peruvian restaurants is the chicken so good?
Man, it's a great question. It's definitely a combination of you
got some secret spice that y'all are using, or what's going on?
Well, actually, it's funny because I was in Utah recently, and I know the owner of one of the biggest Peruvian chicken chain in Utah called Red Fuego. If anyone's ever in Salt Lake City, they've got a couple chains around Provo, Salt Lake City, and he invested, his core investment was the kitchen. He imported it from Lima.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that's a core component, and then of course you get into the quality of the chicken. I'm pretty pro animal rights here, so make sure that chicken's well taken care of. It's got to be a healthy chicken that you're going to be putting into your diet. And then just the seasoning. I mean, Peru is I'm very biased here, but it's definitely top 5 culinary countries, I think, in the planet because of our mix, man. It's a great balance between the indigenous ingredients and culture from the Incas and beyond that, the Spanish, Italian immigrants, Japanese, Chinese immigrants that came through the 19th century and just made a perfect blend of spices and herbs, and that's what goes into the marinade of the chicken, man. So those 3 things,
such good stuff, man. When I was living in LA, I would always go. I forgot it was something Inca was the name of the restaurant. Oh my goodness, so good.
Yeah.
Favorite Helium 10 tool?
That's very difficult. Yeah, I mean, to be transparent, it's a very difficult answer. I want to say the one. I'm just gonna completely correlate tool to success, and I think the way we write our copy has been critical, right? Because we do index very specific things that we know have high search volume on Amazon that don't necessarily appear on our website. So I'd say Frankenstein has been very critical in terms of not only providing a good copy for a customer, but also getting keywords that have have added new customers that would have never found us anyway.
Awesome. And then if you were to have a wish list, like maybe something that Helium 10 doesn't do, or a feature or a filter or anything, what would you tell me? Because that's my goal this year, is trying to get all the features we don't have yet.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know you were talking earlier, you're going to spend more time in Europe. I think for serious brands that have, you see now the proliferation of great brands that are focused on Amazon. Well, a lot of these brands are going to have global reach. So I think the more resources you can offer to better localize and translate within Helium 10, I think there's a massive market for that. The more you can automate, maybe it's something with ChatGPT, but something to translate and effectively localize would be critical.
Got it. All right. Something I asked the guest is give a 30 or 60 second tip. Strategy could be about anything in e-commerce or non-e-commerce. Could be about anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me put my consulting hat on, which I've been a brand operator for the last few years. So just focus on actioning. I think one of the most, again, going back to lessons I've had from executive leads at Solo Stove, one of the most important things I took away from our former CEO, John Maris, he said he'd rather have me focus on doing twice the amount of things half as good than half the amount of things really good. And that really, to be transparent, that philosophy of just iterating different initiatives, obviously targeted initiatives that can drive business, drive top and bottom line, has been really critical in terms of finding out what sticks, doubling down on those, and then the ones that don't work, quickly offloading them, have been really good. So I think just purposefully actioning items that's going to grow your business is extremely critical. You need to be, if you're not waking up every Monday, if your business is good and you're not waking up the beginning of the week obsessed about how to double down on that growth, you're on a track to lose. And if you're losing and you're not obsessed about how to offset those losses, then you're going to lose even more.
All right. Well, Alvaro, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been great to meet you in person, and thank you for taking the time out. And wish you and the Solo the best of success. Maybe we'll have you back on the show next year and see what you guys are doing then.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it, dude.